right, and welcome to Module 5. We're going to be diving into triangles. What I want you to think about as we go through this module is I want you to think about the similarities of the flat corrections and the zigzags that we went through and how they could also be mistaken for triangles as well. And then in the next module, we're going to be going into WXYs, and we're going to take this concept another step further and start to look at how they can actually be mistaken for each other. Let's dive in. All right, so I've got 5 beautiful drawings here for you guys. These are 5 different triangles. There are going to be 5 different names for them. We've got the symmetrical, the ascending, descending, expanding, and the running. Okay, a lot of the times you're just going to see 4 examples, which will be the symmetrical, ascending, descending, and expanding. And the running one isn't talked about a lot, but we want to definitely make sure that we address it in here because a lot of the times it will save you from mistaking the wrong correction. So with that being said, let's go over a few examples of what we're looking at here. Notice that all of these are in an uptrend except for the descending one here. And one thing that I want to mention about the triangle is that true triangles are continuation patterns. So in other words, the price will contract a lot and they will look like triangles. You will get the pattern of a triangle, but it's not actually a triangle. And that's really important to be able to recognize that, because as we go into the charts at the end of this module here and we start diving in, I'm going to show you all these examples of what looks to be like triangles, but they're actually not. Okay, so it's an interesting thing. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we move forward with corrections. So first off, we've got the symmetrical triangle. We're going to talk about the fib relations to this one here. Because of the symmetry of the symmetrical triangle, the fib relations are also symmetrical. So in other words, price is contracting on both ends into a point of apex. And when the B wave retraces the A wave, it comes back to either the 0.618% or the 78.6%. But whatever it comes back to, this C wave is going to retrace the B wave, and it will most likely come back to the same exact spot. And the reason for that is because of the symmetry of a symmetrical triangle. So if it retraces 0.786%, then the C wave will do the same. And you guessed it, the D wave will do the same for the C wave, and the E wave will do the same for the D wave. Okay, so sometimes it might sound like a little bit of a mouthful, but just know that if the first wave retraces to 61.8%, then most likely the preceding waves are going to do the same thing. So the thing about triangles is that for the most part, you're not going to know they're an actual triangle until almost into the E wave, at which point then you'll get some clarity to it, okay? And I'll show you a few examples as to why that is. One of the main features about triangles is that they work in waves of 3s. So notice that A, B, C, D, E is actually 5-wave structure. So they are a 5-wave structure, but just like an ending diagonal that we were talking about before, these are going to all be made up of 3-wave cycles. So you're going to see a zigzag inside of the A wave like this. You're going to see a zigzag inside of the B wave, a C wave, a D wave, and E wave. You can see flats. You could see a WXY, which we're going to get into the next module. Okay, so any 3-wave correction you can see inside of these triangles and the subwaves when you break it down. More often than not, they're zigzags. And then last and final is the E wave is the only exception where you can actually see a triangle inside of the E wave. So an example of that would look like this right here, where price is moving up. We start our correction into this triangle. We get A, B, C, D, E. And inside of the E wave is another triangle in orange here with the A, B, C, D, E. Okay, so this is obviously going to get really drawn out when it does this. Now, when we have triangles, they don't necessarily have to touch at this point of apex right here. They just have to be contracting and they cannot move in the same direction. Okay, so in other words, if price is moving in the same direction, I'll give an example of it right here, where we hit a higher high and then we're hitting higher lows. We've either got a channel or we've got an ascending wedge. Okay, but we don't have a triangle anymore. And that's why one of the big differences here when we look at the ascending triangle and the descending triangle is notice that the horizontal top and the horizontal bottom, they're flat. Price is not breaking it or moving lower, and it's not moving higher here either. Okay, so that's a really key thing to make sure to be paying attention to when you think that you see a triangle, is making sure to double check all of these characteristics, guidelines, and rules about them. Okay, so with the ascending triangle, flat top. This is going to be seen in a bull market because if you think about the psychology behind it, we're hammering at the same level and we're making headway on our lows. So we're making ground. And so once we get up into this point of apex, it's much easier to push through it with just a little push in order to break that line of resistance. The same thing with the descending triangle. You're going to see this in a bear market or a correction where the trend is coming downwards. A wave still, just like the flats and the ABCs, are still, it's always going to be counter trend. So it's always going to be correcting back. You never want to draw your A wave off of your trend at the same direction. So in other words, if my price is moving down like this, we don't want to start our A wave like this. Okay. So if price like moved up and bounced here, you don't want to just start your A wave right there. Okay. So with that being said, make sure not to make that mistake, you guys, as that's a common one that I've seen when I've been working with students. And we've also got, so descending is going to be in a bear market or in a correction. Ascending is going to be in a bull market. You're going to see triangles. These are typically seen in the fourth wave. You're never, ever going to see them in wave 2. Okay, so they cannot be in wave 2. That's an easy distinguishment in order to determine what wave you're in. Is if you're seeing a triangle and it's a wave 2, then you know it's a B wave. So over here, I've put where you can find triangles at. You can find them in a B wave, the fourth wave, an X wave, and you can find them in a Y wave. Okay, so the Y wave, you're going to find in a WXY or even a WXYXZ, but you can only have one triangle in a complex correction. Okay, so that's a key thing to take away as well. So, and then obviously cannot be in wave 2. Can't stress that one enough. That really helps eliminate counts for you. When we have hard rules, those are the ones that you can confidently eliminate things. When it comes down to guidelines and characteristics, those help your probability, but they don't necessarily eliminate 100% the probability. So rules are important to be able to memorize. So wave 2 cannot have a triangle in it. Okay, so 5 triangles here, and then we've got the expanding one and then the running one left to talk about. Okay, so again, these are all made up of 3 waves, okay, and the E wave can have a triangle in it at the end. None of the other waves can have a triangle in it, okay? So when I started this module, what I told you to think about was how can the regular flats and ABCs overlay and be mistaken for a triangle? Well, if you think about this original ABC, right, if you draw trend lines based off of those 2 points, you can already try and project that price is contracting. It's premature to draw those trend lines. It's relevant, but it's premature, and just know that they're subjective and not that strong until you've touched it at least 3 times. So with the ABC here, why it's easily mistaken for a triangle as well is because you get a, well, let me start that over again. So the reason that it's easily mistaken for an ABC and a triangle is because a C wave can hit a 0.618 extension of your A wave. So it can be truncated like this or running flat even. All right. If you don't know about the B wave being expanded, you're not thinking about it. Just these simple characteristics rules. If you don't know them all, if you don't have them memorized, it's easy to mistake them when you're looking at the charts. Okay. And because of that, the little things are going to be what rule it out. So think about a regular ABC, you get 5 waves in the C wave. Well, that eliminates it being part of a triangle. If you can identify 5 waves in the C wave of a flat correction, a regular flat, then it eliminates it being a triangle. So just those little things are really important. So the more you know, the more you memorize, the easy and more accurate it's going to make your counting. Let's go down here and talk about the expanding triangle. These are actually typically really rare to see. You don't get to see these very often. And it has been yet to be identified to have an expanding triangle inside of a complex structure or inside of your E wave. Obviously, that would make it very realistic to have an expanding triangle in your E wave. So you won't have this in your E wave and you won't have it in a complex structure. At least it hasn't been identified that way yet. So the expanding triangle, though, we are basically broadening out. We're breaking new highs and we're breaking new lows. Okay. One thing about triangles is that the E wave doesn't necessarily have to hit the trend line again. Okay. All other points need to hit the trend line, but the E wave can break short of it. And that applies to all of these here as well. In fact, most of the time, it doesn't even hit the trend line again. which is a bullish sign for a breakout to the upside as well. Okay, usually you can expect this to retrace maybe to the 0.618, 0.5, and then break to the upside as well. And that can be said for the same here as well. It doesn't necessarily have to touch the trend line. So we can get an early break like that as well. Okay, so that's something definitely to take away from this as well. And the expanding triangle here, again, it's just all working in 3 waves and you're just broadening out. It's a pretty rare one to see. It's not very common. And again, the E wave doesn't have to touch that bottom trend line. So it can run like this and break out too. More often than not, I would challenge you that if you think you see a triangle, I would challenge you to think of it a different way, as it more than likely is not a triangle. So one key thing to help you assist with this too is that the RSI should follow your triangle. So in other words, it should print the same exact pattern as your price is printing with your triangle as well. Okay, so keep that in mind, that when you think you're seeing a triangle, go check your RSI. Is there any divergences going on, or hidden divergences? Because there shouldn't be if it's a true triangle. Okay, so the last one here is going to be the running flat. The biggest thing about the running flat is that, one, it happens in bull markets or in very bearish markets, right? Because it's the same mentality as around the expanded flat. The B wave is extending past the start of your A wave. So it's considered running. And again, this is going to fall into that same pocket too. So you can measure it with the Fibonacci retracement tool and look for that 0.236 to 0.382 pocket up there. And that's where your B wave should land into, and then a pullback. Again, the biggest difference between a expanded flat or a running flat versus your triangle is that your C wave is going to come down in 3 waves. It is not going to come down in 5 waves, okay? And that will help you significantly determine if you're in a triangle or if you're in a regular flat, so to speak, or expanded flat, okay? So that's everything that we basically have to talk about in regards to triangles. The fib retracements are similar in the fact that you just pull them from A to B or from 0 to A, and you're looking for each triangle is a slightly different. Symmetrical, they're all going to pull back the same, usually 0.618, 0.618, 0.618 for each one. And when you measure it, let me just show you too, when you measure it, to pull from the high and the low. So if I want to measure this move here and the retracement of it for D, I'm pulling from B to C. I'm not pulling from 0 to A or anything like that. Okay, same concept when I'm pulling from, I want the retracement of the A wave. I'm pulling from 0 to A and I'm looking for that B wave. If that B wave hits a 0.786, well then I'm just going to turn it around, pull always left from right. I'm going to pull from the bottom to the top now, and I'm looking for the retracement of the C wave. Notice that comes down to the 0.786 again. So symmetrical, they just keep hitting the same one. With ascending triangles, what you can look for here is the retracement of the C wave here and then of your E wave. And typically those will come back to the same as well. So in other words, if I'm looking for that C wave, I'm going like this. It's pulling back to the 786. So what you can presume is that this move here will come back to the 786 as well, or the 0.618.5 if it's going to front run that trend line. Keep in mind, you can use confluence of that trend line too. You're going to draw this trend line from the points A and C, and remember that they all should be touching too. So 0, B, D, okay, and A and C, and the price is going to contract in that point of apex. All right, you guys, so that's basically everything that there is with triangles here. And then don't forget the bad boy down here where you've got the triangle inside of the E wave example as well. So if it just kind of keeps going and going and going into the point of apex and really getting tightened up, you're probably just dealing with a triangle inside of your E wave, and you should be checking your RSI to make sure that it's not showing any sort of divergences, and you should be able to get a good grasp and a high probability that triangles are going to be continuation patterns, so that it's going to continue the trend prior to it. All right. And then just a reminder, you guys, they're going to be seen in B waves, fourth waves, X wave, and the Y wave. You can only have one triangle in a complex structure, and you will never have a triangle in wave 2. You'll never have a triangle in your A wave or in your C wave, and you'll never have your triangle in a W wave. Okay. So, or a Z wave, W or a Z. Okay, so that's everything on triangles. So let's go dive into the charts real quick and take a look at contracting prices and just how similar they are to triangles, but aren't actually triangles. Okay, so first and foremost, we can take a look at this one right here with current price here. Notice that we don't touch the trend lines enough here at all. Okay, so we need an A, a B, a C, a D, and E. We also need, 3 waves. This looks very impulsive coming down, doesn't look like 3 waves. This move here looks impulsive as well, doesn't look like 3 waves. So even though price is contracting and when we get a breakout, it was significant, it wasn't actually a triangle. Notice here too that, well, in regards to the RSI, so right here at the bottom, we had a little bit of divergence here where we had a double bottom and we had a higher low in regards to here. So we had some hidden bullish divergence on that last little bit there as well. Let's go find another one here. Kind of go back. So here's one where price is contracting again, but it's not a triangle, right? So we need several touches. And the other thing too is that if this is our A wave down, we need to start our trend line from up here. So A, B, C, D, E is what we'd be looking for there. And if this was a true triangle, we would have seen a breakout and continuation to the upside. Okay. So again, we've just got contracting price. If you also look at the RSI, notice that the price moves upwards here, but RSI is moving downwards here. So we also have divergence. So even though price contracts, and it does this a lot, you're going to see the triangle pattern all over the place. It happens all the time. And you'll hear people talk about triangles all the time as well. But they're technically not true triangles. So it's just price contracting, and you usually have a different type of correction inside of it. And that's fine. It's just important to be able to recognize that. Here is a true triangle. So remember too, with divergences, we need to measure by the candle closes, not by the wicks. Okay, so key point to remember that. Drill it into your guys' brain here. But notice that the RSI here matches up for a triangle, just like the price does as well. Okay, so that's very important. This is a true triangle, and you see that we see continuation of the trend prior to it as well. Okay, so with that being said, that's several examples in regards to the triangle and contracting price. Like I said, triangles aren't that common, true ones, but you will see price contracting a lot into a point of apex, and then momentum and breakouts coming from those. And so as long as you can identify the counts inside of those triangles, you will have an upper advantage as to which way it's actually going to break out. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next module for WXYs.